to welcome Ermi onto the podcast. I was going to say your full name, but don't worry, I'll post it in the
All
LinkedIn
good.
in the LinkedIn post.
Yeah.
Nice to have
Yeah.
you on. I came across a post recently that you're heavily into mentoring, so I thought you're the perfect person to get on this podcast. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I do remember seeing your name in my feed and people liking your posts and your content. So when you reached
Good
out
to
to
know.
me, I was just really humbled and flattered for you to invite me. So I'm very happy to be here.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, it's exciting to have you on, and someone who is so invested in mentoring. I thought, yeah, I need to get
Yes,
you on, and kind of we can obviously delve into that sort of stuff as well, into
of
your
course.
experience and mentoring and such. But I
Yeah.
thought maybe it'd be a good starting point for you to just introduce, obviously, who you are, what you're doing now, and maybe a bit about how you ended up in the role that you're in now.
Yeah, so I have around more than 20 years experience
Wow.
as a designer. So yeah, not that long. I'm currently a design leader
Okay.
at a small startup, and my experience includes working at um, startups, fintechs, financial services, transport and retail industries.
Oh, okay.
I've done contract work, freelance, managed my own business,
I've done it
and
all.
I did it. What's that, sorry?
You've done it all.
I haven't done AI, but
Okay, okay. It's the next on your list, I imagine.
but I will say in my 20 years experience, I still enjoy designing. So I'm
Yeah.
still an IC, individual contributor in my current role, which is where I am
Okay.
at, a design lead, working on a SaaS product in the transport industry.
Cool. So that this is a startup in the transport industry. Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool.
So how I landed there was, the first 15 years of my career, I was a visual designer through to a design manager,
Okay.
working closely with marketing teams, branding, content, visual design, all of that stuff.
Okay.
And in the last 7 years, I focused on UX and UI.
Okay.
And I worked at a combination of, you know, I'd probably say a couple of fintechs,
Mm-hmm.
big corporate financial services.
Okay.
But then what I realized that I enjoyed was that startup environment where I actually don't mind if it's a little bit messy. I like the
Yeah.
idea that I can contribute, be really hands-on, and have direct access
Mm.
to the CEO without those levels of chains of hierarchy. So I found myself coming back to a startup environment where I can
Okay.
really get, direct into the
Yeah.
product, into the research,
Get your hands
liaise directly
dirty.
with the C-suite. It's not a big deal. I don't have to have a big board meeting, and it's just
Yeah.
really flat structure. Yeah,
Yeah. There's pros and cons to all types of
there
like
is, there is.
environments. But it's good though that yeah, we probably need a lot longer than what we've got slotted for this podcast to go into
Yeah,
all
there's those financial struggles, and then there's the, quick turnaround pros.
that can be for part two potentially. No, but I
All
was
right, yeah,
thinking, no, I was thinking, yeah, like it's good that you found the environment that you prefer, that is for your skill
yeah,
sets, your way of working and stuff. And
yeah,
it's good to identify that as well. Like if you are new as well, like entering the field, you might want to aim for those big companies because sometimes I did it as well. As oh, it'd be cool to work for a Google or a Meta or Spotify or something.
yeah,
But sometimes like startups are the environment that best fits you and how you work and that kind of wearing many hats or getting your hands dirty. So that's good you
yeah.
brought that up as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, like with all the other types of environments, whether it's high UX maturity with established teams
Yeah,
versus a messy startup where you have to wear multiple hats, or a strict corporate that's very regimented and process
yeah,
driven. There's definitely pros and cons to each.
yeah,
And I guess a startup may not be for that junior designer. I
yeah,
think if you are a strong generalist,
yeah,
I would recommend being a startup because there's not a lot of direction you might
yeah,
have. It's just throw you in the deep end, figure it out,
yeah,
get stuff done.
yeah.
Compared
That's
to a lot of the advice that I give to UX designers trying to land their first role is try to make sure you start on the right foot. So your first role would be ideal if you were mentored by a senior or a lead.
Yeah.
So that you can start with the correct processes. So if you end up at a startup one day, you would have an idea of what the correct process would be without so much direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you are new and you're in a startup, it could be quite overwhelming having to figure everything
Yeah, it
out.
would be because in a previous talk I did, it's since you don't get a lot of direction, a lot of entry-level designers, they get that imposter syndrome. And so if they're a sole UX designer for a startup, that would definitely be amplified. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have validation if it's correct. And whether they have good testing and research, they won't know if it's the right approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of
You do
designing
need
blind.
no, absolutely. You do need that kind of guidance, like even the freedom to learn, make mistakes, that's normal, but like just the guidance to know, okay, maybe next time we could look at this methodology, or maybe that won't work.
Exactly.
Like,
And
be
then
better
on
in
the
this
flip
case.
side, I have had designers who did start up as a sole UX designer, and they realized that wasn't for them. They, were lucky enough to join where there was a more established design team. And they finally got that reassurance, yes, they were doing the right thing. And it's something that they really need to validate their experience and to keep progressing.
Early on in your career, you do need that validation as well. That just assurance from somebody else, more senior, say, yeah, no, it's going well. You're doing things right. It's okay. It kind of eliminates, that feeling of, imposter syndrome. But I think imposter syndrome will never kind of leave you. I don't know now, like if you ever have those moments. I don't know, like insecurity about something, but it can reduce those feelings, especially early on when you do need that confidence to, because that's all a part of growing and learning, having that confidence to move to the next levels.
And I'm finding in a lot of my design mentor sessions, sorry, I may mention ADPlist in case there are people listening. I just keep dropping that name. A lot of people don't know what ADPlist stands for. So it stands for Amazing Design People List.
Oh, I didn't know that. And I had Felix on the podcast as well.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't know. They go, oh, and it started from a spreadsheet. Felix Lee co-founded it, another design lead, which was about helping people who lost their job through COVID. And it started as a spreadsheet. Upload it, and then it turned into a platform trying to source jobs for designers. And then it just blew up into a platform, multiple Slack channels, virtual conference talks, and it just keeps on going.
It's true. It's incredible.
And so outside of my day job, this is what I do every week as well. I mentor designers every week, talk to them, give them advice, reassurance. Sometimes there's tears. Sometimes it's a bit of a design therapy session. Because, as you know, design, a lot of the creative and thinking roles, it's very taxing. It's, a mental load. It's, you do give blood, sweat, and tears, and we really, really care about our work.
It's true. And I think the side of the role as well that's not talked about a lot is the convincing stakeholders and having to advocate for your design or research if you're a researcher. And that can be taxing as well, because not only are you like having to be creative, and that is taxing in itself, but then having to go and convince people that what you've done, what you've designed or whatever is worthy of being used, or so that can obviously accentuate those feelings of imposter syndrome, especially early on in your career.
Definitely that energy to persuade and have those strong communication skills. I'm finding a high volume of designers reaching out to me to sort of get those negotiation communication skills, because they don't teach that in free UX boot camps or part-time UX programs. They teach you the technical skills, and then it's up to you to go and find a job without learning how to defend yourself. Next thing you know, you're in front of a room of stakeholders questioning every design decision, research, data that you've already validated, but still question it.
Exactly. And that's the part, kind of tying it back in.
Exactly. You need to be that resilient designer, which a lot of designers are finding burnout because I think, oh no, it's just about the work or the design or the research or the content.
Yeah.
But it's the persuading, the communication, collaborating with different teams, developers, everyone has a different agenda. How do you stay resilient, a communicator for all, a strong collaborator, but also pushing for the right design solution?
Yeah.
While
Like that
keeping
seems like
calm and centered and balanced and happy.
exactly. Yeah, just kind of underscore the button. No, that's true.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. And it kind of ties into what we were saying before around, yeah, if you are new, like it is nice to have that kind of design team around you to
It
to learn those
is.
skills and have that validation that the process that you're following is the right process. Because if you are new and you are in front of a bunch of stakeholders, like questioning all your decisions, why you did that, or your process, etc. If you are feeling a bit unsure about your process and if you're doing things right, that can just, yeah, that can knock you over. So yeah, just to
Exactly.
kind of tie back into what we were saying before.
Yeah, and I've met a lot of designers, not just on ADPlist, just in passing or in person, or whether it's a UX meetup, just questioning their confidence.
Yeah.
And it's interesting and sort of a little bit, I do feel for them because that confidence decline can affect their ability to perform.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like it's, a duty for me when they do express, these insecurities to sort of help them or empower them realize the skill set they do have
Yeah.
so that they don't let their confidence be a barrier.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. It's a good point. I wanted to delve into a bit more
Oh,
into your
yeah,
mentoring stuff.
of
So how did
course.
that come about when you decided that you wanted to mentor? Is it something you've always done, like even since your early days, or was there a kind of a starting point? Like, I want to be a mentor.
I,
And this happened a
I
bit.
actually didn't realize I have been mentoring since I was 20 years old.
Oh wow,
So,
that's interesting.
you know that feeling when you don't realize you're good at something, but someone points it out to you? It just comes naturally.
Yeah, not
So if
happened
you're a
often
good
to me, but
conversationalist, pardon?
yeah, not happened often to me, but no, but
Oh no, it doesn't happen often to me, but this is one of the few times, so that's why I'm
that's
highlighting it.
good.
Um,
Of course.
where I was on LinkedIn, maybe it was a talk I did for ADPlist, and
Yeah.
a designer I worked with in my very first job as a junior graphic designer messaged me, congratulated me to go, wow, you've done so well. Your mentorship, it's amazing to see how far you've come with your mentorship. I remember you mentoring me 20 years ago as a junior designer, and you were showing me how to use InDesign. And I honestly didn't think that was the definition of mentoring. We were
Yeah.
peers, both juniors. I sat down with them, I trained them. They didn't feel confident using it. So I
Yeah.
guided them through, sat there patiently, and they just thanked me for
Yeah.
helping them. And they
That's cool.
considered that mentoring and they remembered it
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
this. So I've been designing for more than 20, mentoring for more than 20 years.
Also designing. Probably more.
Yeah, how I fell into ADPlist. I feel like I sort of built up to ADPlist.
Yeah.
So there was a turning point probably around 2018 where I went on a bit of a confidence journey,
Okay.
which I may mention or delve into a bit later if we have
Yeah.
time,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where I wanted to build my confidence. And rather than trying to seek that externally, I want to build that out, build that out, build that confidence for myself. I need to have that self-validation.
Yeah.
And so trusting that I am good enough to mentor, I
Mm.
signed myself up for my first mentor breakfast
Nice.
rather than be a mentee and go, I am a mentor. I have the experience and the ability to mentor other people. And it just so happened to be a mentor breakfast for International Women's Day.
Oh, cool.
And I went, what better way to start my official external mentoring
Yeah.
lifestyle? passion journey.
Yeah.
With International Women's Day, I had my sticker on, and to me, that was like validation. It says mentor.
Yeah, no, I can do it.
And then even while I was there mentoring, because a lot of people say I look younger than I am, I found a lot of women who I could tell they were my age, just looking at me like, oh, what does she have to offer? And then I did see them, because it was one of those speed mentoring sessions where you go down to each table, the mentors stay at the table, and then they go around to each table. And then I noticed the older women never came to me. I saw a lot of the younger women coming to me. And then I saw a couple of older women, they looked like they were managers. Sorry, I'm not being ageist there. But they reluctantly came to me and go, oh, I'm returning from maternity leave, and like, okay, this is the last 5 minutes. I guess I'll ask you a question. It was that kind of attitude. And then I was just all in to just convince them, oh, I definitely know how that feels. I have children myself. And they went, oh, okay. And then I said, yeah, I understand the challenges of returning from maternity leave. Oh, okay. And then you could just see the interest and the connection growing as I was giving them relevant advice to their career. So it's International Women's Day. It was signing up with Project F. Emma Jones, who focuses on women in tech. And gender and diversity and inclusion. And then I think around COVID, I did get a bit of FOMO. I saw ADPlist, all these posts going, oh, I'm an ADPlist mentor. I said, what's this ADPlist thing about? I joined. I didn't expect Felix Lee, the co-founder himself, messaging me, and I'm sure you got the same, welcoming me via LinkedIn. Using my first name, so it wasn't some automated message. And then I had troubles with the onboarding experience. I said, who in tech, who in IT can I speak to? He was, oh, no, that's okay, Ermi, I can help you out. And he honestly navigated through. Yep. He was so hands-on. He remembered my name. I was so surprised by this experience. And, I set my dashboard, availability, all that stuff. And then I instantly got some bookings. And, I like to explore. If there's possibilities for whatever I join, I want to make sure I explore every opportunity possible. So I was all over all the tech channels, looking at all the mentor opportunities, the speaker opportunities for BMO Festival. I was like, yep, I'm a mentor. I deserve to be here. It's even got verified mentor. So all these labels that are validating me, I went, no, I deserve to be here. And everything I've done to, be a BMO Festival speaker, I went completely terrified and scared. I went, can I even speak? Like I've been, I have the experience to be a panelist where I just wing things. And I present a proper talk that lasts for 30 minutes plus a 10-minute Q&A.
Yeah, that's daunting.
Yeah, so that is nerve-wracking for someone like me who used to be completely shy.
Yeah, I am still shy.
It's funny. A lot of people I speak to say they're shy, but then I find they're really great to talk to.
Exactly. Yeah, being shy doesn't mean you're not, that you can't be a mentor, because this is another thing as well, like people who are entering new research or design or whatever, they feel that if they are shy, that it potentially will hold them back from potential opportunities or from being good at presenting to stakeholders, or obviously doing what we're doing now, mentoring. But it's not it's not an obstacle. Like if it's something you're really passionate about and you want to do it, your shyness will be just a part of who you are, like your personality, and there's nothing wrong in that. So yeah, sorry, I didn't want to jump on your train, but
no, not at all. I completely agree. And to me, shyness is not a bad thing. The same thing with having fear. It's whether you allow it to block you from opportunities. So that's the thing that I have empathy for. A lot of designers who say, oh, I couldn't be a leader, I couldn't be a manager, I'm too shy. So that's something I try to show them. No, look, sometimes I still have moments of shyness. Sometimes I prefer to work in a more introverted way.
Yeah.
And then other times I, want to talk to people via podcast, a talk, a panel,
Yeah.
because this is just something I feel I have to do. And this is how I'm
Exactly.
going to give back to the community.
Yeah.
Regardless of shyness, that's how passionate I am about it. I just have to share this experience. I feel, like it's my duty.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, being a leader or a mentor, you don't need to be super
Yeah.
confident. Like,
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah, you can be a leader, someone who's really quiet. It's not necessarily how much you talk or how much you like to be in the center, in the spotlight. There's many other qualities that make a good leader. And I think now, like, I do see like it being spoken about that a leader is someone that doesn't like shout orders or tell people what to do, but it's someone who leads by example. So I think like if you work on your skills and those qualities, people will naturally view you as a leader, even if you're not the most confident person in the world. I think it's good
Yeah,
to
and the
think about.
leaders that I resonate with and am inspired by are very people focused. So
Yeah,
a lot of the influencers, authors, speakers like Simon Sinek, who
yeah,
has that servant leadership.
yeah,
So I definitely resonate with that. And I did mention about my shy to confident transformation journey.
mm,
Lauren Curry, who happens to be a TEDx speaker in the UK,
mhm,
she also mentioned something you just said right now about leadership doesn't have to be a loud person.
no,
Well, in her talk, a loud person shouting at a podium. She was referring to Donald Trump.
ah,
So that is not the definition of a leader.
yeah, no,
So I definitely resonated with that and go, well, then I could be a great leader because I
yeah,
really focus on the people. I want to look after the people because they're your greatest asset. And I feel that
yeah,
with mentoring. And
yeah,
even though another company is going to reap the benefits of me giving advice to a designer who lacks confidence or
yeah,
communication skills, that designer, and a lot of the times they have come back to me and told me,
mm,
will go on to thrive, progress, and because they were so grateful for that experience, end up mentoring, and then it'll just be a ripple effect.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
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 that's cool. Yeah, it's a really nice point, and yeah, I'm glad we touched on it as well. I
yeah.
also wanted to go into a little bit about kind of what made you just decide to be a designer, because you mentioned before you started out in graphic design, if I understood correctly, and now
Mhm.
eventually you kind of moved over more to UX and UI. Was there like a specific reason why you ever wanted to be a designer? And also what made you transition maybe to more user experience?
I'd say in kindergarten, I'm going to go right from the beginning
Oh wow.
because I also do have a
Early start.
practical mindset.
Okay.
When I was probably about 5 years old, kindergarten, I used to do sketches and I did charcoal sketch in year 12 for the HSC. And I honestly thought I was going to be a fine artist and just make money and starve and just be this starving artist. But
So
then I
you're the
went,
first
wait,
person that's ever said 5 years old was when I decided.
that may not be great for my career, and I may only get paid once every few years for one artwork. So my
Yeah, if you want
practical
to eat.
mindset went, how can I get paid for creativity? And I thought graphic
Mm.
design. So this was 20 years ago. I wanted to be work for a fashion magazine, be
Wow.
editor-in-chief one day, Vogue, Australia possibly,
Ain't
and
bad.
just work in print.
Mhm.
I didn't, I wasn't able to get my foot in the door
Okay.
in fashion magazines. I got my foot in the door in at this digital, at the time they called it a digital agency. Well, I
Okay.
happened to work on the first David Jones website as a junior digital designer.
Cool.
So I was like, oh, I felt like, working in the digital industry was a fallback because I really wanted print. And then
Mm.
I worked closely with developers.
Mm.
And then I worked on emails, content, marketing, SEO, and I was just delving more into more digital online web experiences. And
Mm.
then I reached a point where I had 15 years of experience with that. And I became a design manager, managing graphic designers. And I feel like I feel like I've hit a wall. I
Mm.
need And I think a lot of visual designers may experience this, where you just churn out creative concept after creative concept.
Yeah.
Where you kind of get creatively burnt out. You want that validation. So I was looking for something that was a little bit more evidence-based.
Yeah.
And used a little bit more IQ. So when I heard about UX design, where designs are based on validating through research, testing, and data, while also being creative and designing, I thought this could be it. So I actually didn't expect to transition. I thought it was just a nice skill set to have, and I'll continue being a graphic designer after I finish my course. 7 years later, I'm still here. And then, but honestly, I don't consider myself, the best designer, researcher in everything. Like, I'm pretty aware of my skill set. I feel like I'm a solid generalist.
Yeah.
Who has strong communication skills, who can negotiate, who can communicate. At the moment, I'm in an IC role. So if I needed to, I could people manage because I do have those skills. If I want to be completely hands-on, I can also do that. So I feel that's where I am right now, and that's how I fell into UX UI design.
Nice, very good. And I'm sure there were challenges along the way. So it'd be nice to also for people who are listening to resonate maybe with your experience. So were there any was there a memorable challenge or something that you specifically remember that you faced, and how did you overcome that? Probably putting you on the spot.
I would say navigating through my first management role. And I feel like I had an idea, or there's a post-it lying around somewhere, to go, how can I create a course to help completely, IC designers who have little to no people skills, communication skills, to now suddenly be a manager? How do you navigate through that gap? Because that was a big challenge for me, not knowing that sometimes there are corporate politics, budgets, a whole heap of admin to do. I was not prepared for a lot of meetings, financials. So developing that acumen to be a manager, seeing managers, fight for their budget, perform to the business, KPIs, SLA, all of these acronyms to sort of validate the performance of you and your team. So I wasn't prepared for that. But, through the past several years, it's something that I've become more accustomed to. So I can switch that on if I need to.
Yeah. And how long ago was that when you got your first management role?
Probably around 2018, 19.
Okay. So around pandemic, no, just before the pandemic. So, and were you working remotely at the time, or did you transition to remote?
In person. Yeah, it was all in person. It was
the
traditional way of working 5 days a week in the office.
In the office, 9 to 5, 9 to 6.
It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it seems a lifetime away now, actually. But do you work remotely now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
so, we have the option to come in to a WeWork space.
Oh, okay. That's good. At least you have the choice. It's nice to, because I do, I work fully remotely, but every so often we do have site visits or to just meet up with the colleagues, and it is nice to have that every so often. And even better, obviously, if you're in the same sitting, you can just pop down to the office when you need that, I don't know, that human contact, apart from your family, obviously. Okay, I wanted to move on to now just kind of general advice. So obviously, this podcast, this episode is directed at people who are entering the field. So do you have just any advice that comes to your head, or maybe something that someone told you in the past that you remember and helped you in your career, or just something that you would just like to share?
In terms of people trying to transition into UX, this is advice that I never got, but I discovered it as a real challenge, and I'm happy to say that I was able to navigate through it. And I'm finding there's a high volume of designers who book sessions with me through ADPlist who are struggling with this. And that is being able to transition from being a non-designer into a UX design industry in a market that has a shortage of jobs.
Yeah.
Even though, so there's a contrast with a high volume of UX bootcamps with a low volume of jobs available.
And a lot of layoffs as well.
Yeah. Pardon?
And a lot of layoffs as well.
Yeah, a lot of layoffs. And it's sort of unfortunate as well because the small number of jobs available are for seniors because, you know, companies are not, you know, they don't have the budget all the time to onboard and train junior designers. So there's that challenge there for new designers trying to enter the field. So the advice I tried to give them, which was something that I had to navigate through, was how do I highlight my transferable skills so that, and this is the benefit of me working closely with the marketing team, is how do I market myself? So it doesn't look like on paper I have 0 years of design experience, which a lot of the designers, new UX grads, they have that perception. But I just have to help them reshift their thinking to go, you do not have 0 UX skills. So previously, a person was a flight attendant. And I said, do you work with clients, the customers on board? Yes. Do you talk to them? Do you help them? Do you find out what their challenge is? Do you try to give them the best human experience possible? I said, yes. So you're working directly with the end user, finding out, you're probably conducting mini user interviews, finding out what's wrong. You have that empathy for them. And that realization of that service design as well. Or if there was someone who was from finance, they're going to be very analytical, very comfortable with numbers, and used to a lot of complex data. Someone who is a manager or a product manager wanting to be more hands-on with the design and go, you have that product thinking. You just need the technical skills now. So, you know, do the Sigma tutorials, get the technical skills. You already have the personality and the approach and product mindset to be a product designer. So it's just trying to reshift their thinking so that they can market themselves in the best way. So they don't think they have 0 years. They, you know, project this highly experienced designer who just hasn't had a UX design job, but can easily transition, learn on the job. You know, hopefully they have a strong aptitude for learning, because obviously there's a lot of learning on the job.
Of course,
And like, you know, whether it's UX design or any job, you would have collected a number of skills and experience that would be relevant to any industry.
It is a job where there are many transferable skills from previous careers, and that's why it is possible to transition career to UX or to even to product, because most people have some background or studies in something that is relevant as a UX designer, researcher, or whatever. But like for me personally, I've worked in customer care in the past, customer service, and a lot of those skills, dealing with people, even if it's on the phone and, you know, face to face, but still like just managing that conversation, or almost like an interview, managing that conversation, that interview with the user, understanding the problem, understanding their pain points, the needs, etc., and kind of navigating that conversation and building a rapport with that person, because maybe you need to speak to them again. So things like that, I was able later to understand, okay, those skills I use as a UX researcher, so I can highlight those on my CV, etc. And then you realize, I've not got 0 years experience like you said before, but I've got 1, 2, 3 years. So it's a nice point.
And probably another bit of advice is that mental resilience. So we've mentioned previously about having that balance between, you know, the research, how it can be mentally taxing, and then also using that creative energy and also the energy to persuade. So it can be a huge cognitive load and a lot of energy. So how does a designer just stay, I guess, balanced and happy and, not reaching burnout, which I also see a high volume of designers, researchers just really embedded in data, research, people, conversations, conflicts. How do you still, get that energy to do your job every day? Yeah, so definitely those challenges and finding that balance, making sure you're resilient enough or even develop the resilience so that you can survive and thrive in your job.
Yeah. Just kind of to dig a bit deeper into that, how would you go about, I don't know, in your mentoring, helping someone develop that, I don't know, that self-confidence or that resilience to continue? Because maybe someone hearing this might say, yeah, it sounds good, but I don't know how to get that resilience. I don't feel strong enough. I don't feel like I got that in me. So how can you develop that skill if you do have any ideas?
It's definitely one part of it is about developing that confidence. And again, it's like, how do you develop that confidence? So sometimes it's looking at the facts. So a designer who may be mid-level may feel like they don't have the confidence to be senior, but they've been at the job for 3 years. So, I had experience with a designer who worked at Deloitte, and they didn't realize they just kept getting promoted, but they still had imposter syndrome. And I said, well, hang on, look at the facts. You've been at this job for 3 years. You've launched these features. You have strong people skills. You are the go-to person. I think the facts speak for themselves. And then the confidence just lifted. Because a lot of the times imposter syndrome, it is very subjective.
Yeah.
When we don't realize we are already doing the job.
Of course, yeah. Of course. And obviously people trust your work, because obviously if they're promoting this person you're speaking about, then obviously they've seen the output, they've seen the work, they see how people view this person. So if they've got the promotion, they must deserve it.
And then, especially to designers entering the field, how do they develop their confidence? They haven't been there for 3 years. It's celebrating the small wins to go, okay, 3 months, recap. I've done this, I've learned this Figma skill, I've used a bit of AI, I have learned about the company, and just really patting yourself on the back. You've reached this milestone. What does the next milestone look like? 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. So it is having that practical approach to help you build your confidence, to validate yourself.
Yeah. It's a nice point. It's a nice point. That's cool.
I teach designers a practical and strategic approach to their career growth, to have a strategy entering any new role. Don't just go, oh, when I come to performance review, I don't know what to talk about. Really be strategic with every quarter. Note your results and come in prepared for your 12-month review. And then that will validate your performance and hopefully build your confidence. Or identify those gaps so you have something to look forward to develop that skill set or that skills gap.
Yeah, that's cool. And also preparing for that performance review, it allows you a chance to look back through all the things you've done and kind of give you that, oh yeah, I've done all of this.
I've done that. I didn't realize they did all this. Exactly. Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, because you can live in the moment sometimes and you look at what you're doing now, but then we actually look back and you see all the, like I said, you look back at all the things you've done in that past 6 months or year or whatever, and you say, oh, no, I have achieved X, Y, and Z, so I do deserve this job, or so. No, that's a nice point. What about someone who, to go just for ones who maybe aren't in a current role and are maybe looking for their first role, what advice would you give to them? Maybe along the lines of what you were speaking about before, having that resilience, or if you want to touch on something else, then go ahead. But I just wanted to touch on something for those that haven't had their first role yet.
Yeah, I actually, my bookings on ADPlist, coincidentally, have a few people who are looking to enter the UX role industry. It's a tricky one because it is a difficult market at the moment. So normally I would say, look at your transferable skills, update your CV, include your project work into an online UX portfolio that can be easily shareable, make sure your CV is up to date, all of that stuff. Because it's such a difficult market, it's something that you can't ignore and just expect to get a job within 3-6 months.
Yeah.
So I would say at this particular time, I would say be strategic, do some research before you jump. If you are going to do a boot camp, this was something that I did as well because I have a family. I'm going to hang on to my design manager role, make sure I don't jump, and unless there's a job there to go to.
Yeah.
So I can't hang on, I have bills to pay. And make sure it's a smart and strategic move entering a field and you've backed yourself, you've done your research. Maybe you're at a job where you're currently burnt out and it's not design related. Maybe I don't want to mention an example industry that's not design related, that may cause burnout, but non-design related. And you're just desperate to, find something new and you've heard UX is an amazing industry. Be strategic, do your research. If there are things you can do outside of work hours, whether it's a boot camp, can you afford to do a certification? So at least, how do you create a successful UX portfolio, CV? How do you connect with the industry? So sometimes it's, as you know, it's not just about cold applying to get the job. You need to develop a network. Someone can refer you. Maybe attend a UX meetup. Find non-traditional ways of connecting, reaching out to maybe UX leaders, recruiters, specialize in UX, build that network, see if you can get mentored, continue to work on your portfolio, and also really try to understand and engage the UX industry before you jump.
Yeah, no, those are all good points. And it's something that helped me a lot when I was transitioning over, reaching out to people, reaching out to leaders, to mentors. Not like with the premise of, oh, can you help me get a job? But just literally look at, I want to learn. Even if it's not a portfolio review, because that can sometimes, obviously, these people are working, so it can take time to go through a million portfolios and give feedback. But just look at, I'm wanting to do this, I want to get in this field or into that sector. Do you have any small bits of advice? And then, like you say, go into meetups, even if it's online, virtual meetups, just kind of immersing yourself in the community. And they're all really good points.
I think you just definitely hit the nail on the head. That is something that I would say as well, because sometimes being a keen, eager junior UX designer asking for a job can be a little bit off-putting because it may create that wall. But when you have that student mindset that you just mentioned, design leaders are more willing to give that free advice with no obligation to hire you. And, if you have people skills, you create that connection at a UX meetup, with a beer and a pizza. You make yourself memorable for the time. Oh, remember I met Dale. Maybe I'll reach out to him. So those connections are really important.
I hope that happens. No.
That's exactly, that was actually part of my approach as well. Just reaching out to people and meeting them.
It helps me a lot and allows me to do what I do now with the podcast as well, because it helped me connect with people like that who are now like really willing to be involved and kind of support the podcast. So even if it's not for a job, but for some other avenue that you eventually take, it can always give you that network of people that can support you. So, that's cool. Maybe we end here now, because I'm very aware, obviously, it's your night. So thanks for being so available to do it.
Thank you so much for having me. For anyone listening, this is the first time I've spoken to Dale. He's absolutely lovely to speak with. He has made me very welcome. So I'm very happy to speak with you.
And you're very lovely to speak to too. I'm very
thank you.
full of knowledge and
thank you. So are you.
And maybe we do part 2 and we can go into maybe some more technical things for next time, which would be cool.
Of course. I'll be happy to speak with you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.